You're listening to REI USA Podcast, your prime resource for genuine real estate growth. If you want to jumpstart your real estate career, whether in active or passive investing, this is the right show for you. Join professional home renovator Stacy as she talks to REI USA teachers and expert investors willing to share their tips and tricks to get started in investing, sharing actionable advice in every area of real estate, all while putting legality, habitability, and safety above everything else. Combine their unparalleled advice with your strong drive for success, and that incredible real estate fortune will be yours. Now, here's your host, Stacy.
Welcome, first and foremost, and I want to say thank you to Stacy for having me on here. I'm going to talk about a hot topic that probably wasn't that hot before, but now I'm finding out it really is: mobile homes, right? So my husband in the picture is Noah. Noah and I actually lead the South Carolina Supergroup monthly, the third Thursday of the month. So for those of you watching this, please log in if you have any interest in the South Carolina market. We teach multiple topics every month relating to the market or just in general that you can apply in your market. So please jump on there. Those are my two little boys. So they're a little bit older now. So we have a 5 and 7-year-old. We've been through the amazing experience of virtual schooling this year and last year partially in running the business. So it's really been a blessing to be in real estate because it's allowed us the opportunity to be able to be with the kids and do the business, which obviously if you follow Stacy, same thing, which is cool. We're very parallel in that. We've been investing since 2007. And I actually started investing in mobile homes in 2009, back when they actually weren't cool at all and nobody knew anything about them. I really saw an opportunity that I feel like so many people just didn't want to mess with or didn't understand. And we'll get into why, I feel like a lot of people stayed away from them. So I started investing in 2009. I've been coaching since 2012. It's a pretty awesome opportunity. I've been able to coach students all across the US and Canada. I was raised in a small town, if any of you know where that is, in Culpeper, Virginia. I was literally just home over Christmas. My father still farms at 75 years old. And I can tell you now, it's interesting with going to the grocery store. I don't know if any of you have experienced this. Went in the grocery store the other day and I was like, oh my gosh, there's no food in the grocery store. This is really crazy, right? And I'm thinking, I'm so glad my dad's a farmer because, guys, I have this big freezer in the basement that he just had a cow butchered. And literally I have so much meat and they can stuff. So I'm like, these are maybe things I should bring back into life outside of real estate. But I actually went off to college and got my degree in psychology. Love it. As you know, real estate is all about the people. And I think that's why I've done well in this, because I love people and I love helping and making it a win-win. And my husband and I live in Columbia, South Carolina, which we love. We just got snow for the first time in 7 years last week, and it was pretty exciting. So I'm a huge believer in educating. I feel like whatever you do in life, you have to know what you're doing or you're going to make a mistake. You really need to find the right people. And that's why I love being affiliated with Stacy, because I feel like she's got so many great things for people that either are starting in real estate or have been investing. There's something for everyone. I jump on these just to say oh, okay, you know what? I haven't really wholesaled land in a long time. Let me look at that option. I've done short sales, but do I really know the ins and outs? So no, there's such a great information base here. My big passion really is helping others. Sometimes too much, right? I'm one of those that gives all of her time just to help anyone with a problem, a conversation. But I feel like in this day and age, it's really important. And I think that's why we've been so successful in real estate. We get a lot of referrals. And I really love keeping it real. And I know those of you on here probably feel the same way. It's enough of the fluff, enough of the this. It's let's just be really honest and transparent. And I feel like that as well as your business helps you in life. So everything I tell you is pretty direct because I really want to help you. So my website is on the bottom, and I'm going to do some free giveaways too, actually at the end. And I have a specific link, but it's ChristyDuckett.com. My married name actually is Christy Harris. So you'll hear people exchange Christy Duckett, Christy Duckett-Harris. It's all me. I'm the same person. Depends on how long you've known me. I'm one of those that got married very late in life. So this picture here, for those of you that have not watched the show, you should. It's called Trailer Park Boys. And I always put this in my presentations because it's so funny. It's a Canadian show. So actually I just did a Canadian presentation and everybody there knew exactly who they were. But it's on Netflix. It is a comedy on trailer parks, but everything is very accurate. So Noah loved that show forever. I bought him tickets to go see these guys. And there's always one guy that's always trying to take over the park, right? Ricky. And I laughed because every park that I ever owned, it was the same situation, the same characters, the same types of people. And we got to meet these people in real life, right? That acted out. And ironically, I had a scarf that was the same material as the guy's shirt. And he's like, whoa, good taste. So we thought that was so funny when we went down there. So, and he was really funny because he literally said, you know, we act this out, but I've heard those mobile home parks can really make a lot of money. So it was like, okay, everybody's kind of on board with this. So why do people not really invest in mobile homes? And for the longest time, I kind of understood it. You know, everyone looks at a mobile home like, hey, I turned on the news. That's the first place that blows away in a hurricane, right? Or a tornado. And shockingly, literally a couple of weeks ago, I saw there is a student within an affiliation where I coach. They owned a mobile home park down in Fort Myers, Florida. And sure enough, that mobile home park, a tornado came through and blew the entire thing away, right? Like some houses as well. But I'm like, this is why people probably stay away from them, the stigma of thinking this always happens. But guys, that's really not the case. If you own any real estate now, you know, different weather patterns are happening everywhere. So I think it's just the connotation of it being a trailer. It's a bad thing. You know, people don't pay their rent. They're low income. It has a very negative image. If you've been in an older mobile home, it really probably wasn't as nice as the newer ones now. So I think people just tend to stay away with what they don't know. So they don't know because for a very long time, there was no education piece out there teaching people that, hey, these are great investments. You only saw the bad things when you turned on the news. They also had an issue, I think, when I coach people, it's like, well, listen, I don't understand how to estimate repairs. You know, am I buying all the same parts that I'm buying at Lowe's for the mobile home? Does it work the same? Do I need a licensed GC? Can I use a handyman? Do I need to find someone mobile home specific? These are a lot of the questions I get. And again, if they're, you know, most people go watch YouTube or Google things to find out, hey, what do I do? And there just wasn't a lot of accurate information out there on mobile homes. So again, people stayed away. Unsure how to value the home. So this is another thing. It's very actually interesting. I just did a Zoom interview 2 weeks ago on a local mortgage broker that predominantly does mortgages and mobile homes. And she's down near Charleston, South Carolina. For you guys that are familiar with Charleston, that market is blown up. And she said, you know, when I started in mobile homes almost 20 years ago, you couldn't even like give them away to people, right? Like some people bought them, but most people stayed away from them. She goes, now what I'm seeing is the values of these mobile homes have doubled and tripled, and they're as expensive as single family homes. So there's like a newfound respect to them. And I said, yeah, now you can really comp them out because in most people's mind, a mobile home is like a car. It's a depreciating asset. So people just say, well, listen, I'm not going to buy it because there's no true value future forward. It's not appreciating. But what people forget is there are mobile homes that have been attached to land, which we'll talk about, and we call them detitled. So when that happens, you're actually getting the home on the land. So it really creates a value climbing. You can pull comps just like a house. So now there is some value within that. But again, there was some uncertainty and the lack of education. There's really not a lot of educational sources out there. And during the pandemic, I literally was like, I think now's the time. I finally have time to sit down and kind of write a course and teach people about mobile home investing because I've been talking about it for so long, but there's still not a lot of great resources. I think more now there's stuff out there, but there's also still some misguided information. So those are like, you know, probably the top 5, I would say, why people really have stayed away from them. Now I'm finding here recently, and we all know this because we're all experiencing it. We know the properties are out there, but if you're going to the MLS, obviously there's a shortage because everyone's going there. Inventory still is low. So you're actually seeing now people going after mobile homes. I mean, it used to be that mobile homes were sitting on the market forever, and now they're flying off the market. So I've found some ways to kind of market into those to get them, but it's interesting how everything's kind of come full circle, which I kind of knew back when I started in 2009. I didn't know exactly what was going to happen, but I'm like, somebody's going to figure this out. So what's the difference between the types of mobile homes manufactured modular? And I say mobile homes a lot, and I should smack myself on the hand because really a mobile home is not always a manufactured home. So kind of explain this in little terms. A manufactured home is what you should be calling everything that was built after 1976. Actually, it was June 15th, 1976. What happened is anything created prior to that is an actual mobile home. And they're not made to a certain standard before 1976. You were able to come in and just kind of have like, here's the mobile home. So if you've ever looked at an old one, it's almost like the walls are detaching. It looks very cheaply made. And that's what actually HUD came in and said, listen, we want to build a better product. We want to have guidelines. So that typical mobile home that you'll see in a park that has the wheels, has the axle, has the concrete block, everything underneath it, that's a mobile home. After 1976, HUD came in and said, listen, we're going to have guidelines where we have to come in and make sure this is built to a certain standard. And that's when they took on the term manufactured home. So literally anything past that point, you should be calling a manufactured home. The reality is I still interchangeably use mobile and manufactured, but that's really the only difference. There's a HUD sticker on the mobile home, the manufactured home, whether it is a single wide or a double wide. A double wide will have 2 HUD plates on them, or should. And the utility connections, when you actually come in and hook the manufactured home up, has to be inspected by the city or county inspector. So that's the difference with that. Now, a modular home, completely different. So a modular home is like a real house. It looks like a single family home, even though it's still built in a factory like all of the rest. And these are all built in factories in pieces and then pieced together. You've probably passed them on the interstate and trying to get around them, and you're stuck, especially on a 2-lane road, which is kind of frustrating. But a modular home looks like a house, right? So you typically can't tell the difference sometimes when you go into like a manufactured and a low-end modular, but some of the modular homes are very high-end, and they actually are built to the same standards of a stick-built home. So know that they have to go through code inspection and all that, and they can actually be comped out against single-family homes, whereas manufactured homes, you have to comp out with a manufactured home. So for those of you that have never been in a single wide or a double wide, I'm going to give you like a typical floor plan. Now, I highly, highly recommend that you go and view an old mobile home, an older manufactured home, a newer manufactured home, and go walk them. We'll talk about building relationships with mobile home dealers and manufactured home dealers, which is important, but you guys need to really understand like what you're getting into and what they look like. And I think you'll be in shock, because when you go look at some of the new single and double wides, they're as nice as a regular home. But these are, again, factory built, and they have different sizes. So 18 by 90 or less. 14 by 80 in the older single wides is very, very common. I find that the double wides are more appealing to people that are buying them. So if you're looking to flip, I'm not saying you can't flip a single wide, but I think the double wides are more appealing to people because they're larger and they look more like house-like. 3-bedroom, 2-bath floor plan, as always, gives you the best return on investment. But I will say when you're renting the single wides, the 2-bedrooms do very well too. I think it just depends on where it's located in your market analysis. So don't shun away from those. And we'll talk about renting them, flipping them. There's different strategies we use within this. And what's cool is I've actually added a bonus session in here on Airbnb a mobile home. So that's really cool. I know Rachel tomorrow is going to talk about higher end luxury short-term rentals. I'm going to talk about your mobile home rental that can still make you money on your short-term. So the next one is a double wide. Double, obviously meaning 2 pieces. These are built in the factory in 2 pieces and then taken to the piece of land and set or in a park. So know that typically on the double wides, once they're placed on the ground, it's very rare that they are actually ever moved. They really stay there forever. And they're 2 separate pieces, again, with 2 separate VIN numbers. And they're larger and they have an actual seam down the middle where the 2 pieces are seamed together. And we flipped a lot of those and we'll go through that. So the mobile home must knows, these are really important. So, and I've had people I've coached go, oh my gosh, I bought a manufactured home and there's no HUD tag, right? The data plate's gone. What do I do from there? So there actually is a website. If you do, and you can see me in the bottom left-hand corner pointing out that little metal plate I was talking about. Typically that metal plate is red and gray. But if it's an older manufactured home, it's not going to be because the sun's faded it out. So you're really looking for that metal plate. And if you can't find that and it's not on there, I had people tell me before, oh, if you buy that, you can't replace it. That is untrue. There is a website you can go to, IBTS, and you'll see that in the upper right corner. They actually have a website where they can send you a new data plate and a HUD tag. So know that if you're flipping and selling a home to someone that's getting financing, it has to have that tag on it. So you have to get that, okay? Is it real property or chattel? What does that mean, right? We've heard those terms, but I don't understand. So real property means that that mobile home was set, or that manufactured home was set on a real piece of property, okay? Like a real piece of land, like a house, and then it was detitled. So know that every manufactured or mobile home comes with a title, like a car title, literally looks like a car title. And once you decide to attach it and permanently affix it to the ground, it becomes real property. So it actually becomes a single family home with a tax ID number and all of that. So when you pull the county tax record, you're going to see that in there versus going in and seeing that it's on a title. Chattel means it's actually still on a title. So the land is not owned and attached. It still has the movable pieces underneath it. But it is literally a car. So it's like the mobile home or manufactured home that can be moved again to another location. That's really important to know, and to know if it's detitled, because if you're flipping a house to someone that has to get financing, there's different ways you can get financing, but if it's not real property, you might not be able to get financing. FHA, Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, VA loans will finance manufactured homes, depending on the age of them, and I tell everyone it's really important to get a mortgage broker on your team that understands mobile homes. But the chattel loan is a little bit different because it's going to have a high interest loan. There's some banks that will lend, but the age of the home dictates that too. So you have to know the difference of what you're buying. How to value or pull comps. Again, if you're just buying the house in the park and it's an older home, there's not necessarily a process for pulling comps on that. It might just be looking and seeing what's selling for in the park. What will someone pay, right? But if you're looking at how to value and pull comps, if it's a true manufactured home and it's real property, you're going to want an agent to pull comps for you off the MLS. I think is usually the best way, unless you're using some of the other sites. You definitely want to look into local city, county rules and regulations, because people will buy the home and think I can do whatever I want, right? Because in your mind, it's like, okay, it's a piece of real estate. It's like a house. It's not. So what a lot of people are finding, and you'll see this if you drive through downtown Columbia, all of a sudden you're right downtown and you drive 2 minutes out of downtown. I'm not even kidding. I can still see the city skyline. And you're like, there's a mobile home park. Like, what the heck? Trust me, that mobile home park was there long before half of everything else. That's the problem. They can't boot necessarily the mobile home park out. They're trying to. So if you were to buy a home in a location, you might not be able to move that home out. You might not be able to move a home in because there's certain grandfathered laws. So you definitely want to talk to someone in the mobile home department and find out, can I do this or can I do this? Super important, because you could buy something you might not be able to do anything with and then be stuck. The buying paperwork is different. So if it's a piece of chattel and it's sold on a title, you're going to need a bill of sale. That usually comes from the DMV. Some states are different, but you can pull up your DMV website and find that. And the bill of sale literally is like you're selling, if you've ever owned your car outright and you're selling it, it looks very similar to one. Sometimes actually it is the same one in some areas. You need to know the financing to sell. So Annie was talking earlier, I love seller or owner financing, and she was going through like how to do that and different things. So we also owner finance homes to people. We also outright just buy them and sell them for cash. We wholesale and we do a little of everything. So knowing what your exit strategy is super important, because you really want to make sure you're buying right. But remember, it all comes down to selling right as well. And in this market right now, it's crazy. I think you could sell mobile homes for cash way above because people are learning, hey, these are great rentals. I can pretty much rent them the same as a house. So they're kind of becoming this great commodity too. But again, you want to buy right. Mobile home supply stores are super important. So when I talked about, a lot of people stay away from these because they don't really know how to renovate them. They go in and they say, listen, the tub looks different. It's a completely different size from the standard tub I would buy at Lowe's. So if I'm swapping out a tub, where do I find that tub? So there are stores, usually if you're in a rural area or in a city, there probably is a rural mobile home supply store outside of that area. And they sell specific mobile home parts. So windows are a little bit different. You can't just go to Lowe's, and especially on an older home, you can't just go there and buy your standard windows and change them out. So you need to really kind of be very familiarized with the pricing. So it's interesting because these mobile home supply stores buy from larger warehouse distribution centers. And there's, I think in our area, we have 3 of them kind of spread out. But like the prices on some of the stuff at some of the stores is astronomical. The markup is ridiculous. Obviously with the pandemic, just of certain things, but it's always been ridiculous because you can only buy those things there. So the owners actually have a great, selling markup price, but some of the doors I could actually buy cheaper at Lowe's, but they won't fit in the mobile home. So a lot of things I'll talk about when we go through rehabbing, I do try to salvage as much as I can and fix what I have, because sometimes that can get pricey, but still the cost of rehabbing has been, in my experience, much, much less than doing a house. And the permitting is much, much less as well. So key relationships, like anything we do in the business, right? I would tell you to do these with your houses too, but there's some real specific people when it comes to mobile homes. So mobile home park managers, if you're looking to buy homes in someone's park, it's really important to form a relationship with that park and know the manager, the owner. A lot of times what's happening now in some of these parks, the owners are coming from, especially in our state, the pricing is much cheaper. So a lot of people are coming from up north and out west, and they're buying mobile home parks in our area. So they're kind of off-site and they have a park manager that runs everything. That's good and bad, right? Because if you can't form a great relationship with them and they're not necessarily the owner, it doesn't matter. They're the one that's really controlling the entire park. So you want to make sure you have a great relationship with them, because also they can bring you leads. I coach a student down in Florida that's bought over 15 homes in a park. And it's because he's formed a great relationship. So unfortunately, I hate to say this, but this is kind of his motto. And I forget exactly how it goes, but if someone passes away in the park, he's the first person the park manager calls because he knows they're going to buy the house, right? So that's a great one. Mobile home movers, super important. And they're very busy right now, guys. I've got a form relationship with one that's moved a lot of homes for us. And it's even hard to get him right now because so many people are buying manufactured homes, brand new, that he's working directly with the dealerships and making a killing. He doesn't really have to work for the business, right? That's a steady stream. So the good news about him is he knows where a lot of people are selling homes, where a lot of people are buying homes. So he might know areas that are great to invest in. He might have some intel on areas that are bad to invest in. He might know where somebody is downsizing and liquidating. So I think it's really important to have a great mobile home mover, especially also when you need to move a home. Mobile home dealers. So that's the large dealership you'll see that sells a lot of like the Clayton homes or brand new homes, Fleetwood, the different brands. It's really important to find a dealer because a lot of times they can give you discounted prices on brand new homes. So there's a strategy, and I think we're going to be doing a lot more of this because, again, the manufactured homes are selling so well in our area, but really going in and finding land, then working out a deal with the dealer to find those new homes and moving them on the land and detitling and attaching them as real estate. Because again, we can sell that just like a house. And guess what? We don't have to go in and rehab it. So it's kind of a great strategy. Or if there's an older home on land and we know, hey, the true value is in the land and we can move a newer home, we'll just swap that out. So these dealers can get you discounted prices on new inventory. Now know that some of these dealers right now are backed up 4 to 6 months because remember, all of these are built in the factory. So if this is a strategy you think you might want to use, you might want to start building that relationship now and finding out like, okay, what's the holdup time, right? From buy to finish. Mobile home inspectors, all inspectors, but in the mobile home business, definitely you want to know inspectors. In the single family business, you want to know they're in and out of houses all day. They know where the deals are, right? Those are the people that you want to relate to. Plus, if you're looking to do some of these strategies, you want to know the inspectors because guess what? They're passing your permits like everyone. So it's really important to build a relationship. Again, mobile home supply store owners, that's big for so many reasons. They know everybody. They know the park owners. They know the tired landlords, they know the movers. Sometimes like at our local store, the actual mobile home mover is the brother of the guy that owns the mobile home store. So like they're in business together. So it's really important because they know where a lot of discounted deals. And then a brick mason. So I'm going to show you a home that we did where, for you guys that have been in mobile homes or see them, you see like that metal skirting around the bottom of the homes. It kind of cheapens the home a lot of times. And we actually went in and had a mason brick the bottoms. And I wish I didn't put this picture in my presentation, but what's really cool is we just went to a park we visited looking at some homes to buy, and they had actually put a wood bottom on the home. And what's funny is my husband is always like, I would never buy a mobile home to live in, this and that, And I laugh because, guys, now the mobile homes near the mountains, which are the biggest buying spots, right, for short-term rentals, I'm like, if we just bought a mobile home and made it look like that, people would rent that all day long because it looks so good. So no, there's things you can do to kind of fancy them up, build nice porches and go through all that. But these people are key relationships to the business. So definitely form those relationships. Now, I have 6 strategies I talk about, but obviously I don't have enough time to talk about all of those, but I wanted to focus on a few. So we talk about the buy or move a used mobile home in someone else's park. Sell a home with seller financing in someone else's park, wholesale mobile homes, just like you would anything with a house, fix and flip, which is the real property, land home deals. That's where you're buying or you're buying a piece of land, you're buying a home, and then you're, attaching that and kind of going through the process of getting septic and sewer put in. And then selling as a turnkey investment. So we've actually been able to sell mobile home investments to out-of-state or in-state investors. And then we own a property management company. So we've been able to property manage them on the back end as well, which has been cool. And right now, if you haven't written down the ChristyDuckett.com, you can write down ChristyDuckett.com/free. That is a property mobile home lead sheet that I'm giving away. That will help you kind of go through, because of course we have our property walkthrough sheet of, hey, we took a lead on our single family home. But when you're asking questions about a mobile home, there's so many different things you might not know. This sheet goes through all of that. So today I want to talk about in red, buying or moving a used mobile home in someone else's park, and the fix and flip model of real property. And then again, as I told you, I threw in a slide about the bonus that I have to talk about Airbnb, because this is something I just coached someone on. It was such a cool strategy. I was like, I want to share this with people because, again, I don't want you getting this lead and then just like, throwing it to the side or bypassing it. I want you to know like, hey, I can make money with this too, because it's all about diversifying. So I targeted different parks in different areas, and we still do. Actually, 2 weeks ago, my husband and other business partner, we went out to a park in a rural area. We got a lead call on buying some mobile homes in there from an out-of-state investor. So I'm constantly farming parks. Now you might say, well, Christy, why would I not just buy the park? I want to own the park. I get that all the time. I'm like, listen, I'm not telling you not to, but don't ever go buy a park until you've owned just a home, because that's a bad idea, right? It's like, hey, I've never flipped a house, but I think I'm going to buy a multi-unit and I'm going to go in here and rehab everything. Start small and work your way up so you understand the ins and outs. So we research different parks in great locations. This one happens to be in a really great area. We've had a really long-term relationship with them. And it's close to the bus line. It's close to the hospital. And there's just now, guys, there's affordable housing is nowhere. I mean, that's a thing of the past. I don't even know what affordable housing is anymore. And in mobile homes still allows some type of affordability, lower than apartments, lower than a single family home. So this park was a great location, we thought, for just rentals or, selling owner financing. So we've done multiple deals within this park, which is pretty cool. But what I'm really looking at is, again, you want to form a great relationship with the park manager. Don't just blindly go buy a home in a park and assume you can rent it, assume you can flip it, because some of these parks make you live in the home. They want it to be owner occupied. So you can actually get yourself into a bad situation if you buy something. And obviously, hey, if you're ready to move in, great. But if that wasn't your exit strategy, you can lose some money. Because what's going to happen is you're going to have a lot rent. Anytime you buy a home in someone else's park, there's a lot fee you pay. Listen, ours are probably on the more moderate side, probably $300 to $350 in our area. Sometimes that covers water. Sometimes it covers sewer. But in some areas where I've coached people across the United States, there's lot rents up to $1,500 a month. Now, that's not including the payment on your home. So no, if you're going to do the strategy, you probably want to go into a park where the lot rents are moderate. The park is very easy to work with. The manager's super friendly towards investors, because what's going to happen is you're trying to create a cash flow. So I'm going to give you an example of the tenant rent minus the lot rent and cash flow. So check comparable rents in the park. It's really important to know how much can I actually rent this home for, right? Like any rental. So you either want to call around where you see a for rent sign, call and talk to the park, call surrounding area just to see. You want to check nearby apartments. And apartment rents now are astronomical. It boggles my mind that people rent, but it's happening now. People are moving to an area where they can't find a home. And this literally, we were at hockey practice with my son the other day. And I'm always like, doing something, but slightly eavesdropping on everyone's conversation when I hear the word real estate, like we all do. And I heard a gentleman saying, yeah, man, two guys talking. They had just moved to Columbia. We can't find a house. I'm with my wife every day. We're going out with the agent. We're having to throw in these ridiculous offers. The other guy said, we just gave up. Like, we just decided to rent an apartment. He's like, we didn't have a choice. So there's kind of that demand there as well. But, a lot of people don't want to throw away money in something in a high area. So I like to check those nearby rent apartments, and how I'd like to price my mobile homes, because your mobile home is more appealing than an apartment in many ways. One, it has a yard with it, right? It's always a little bit bigger. You don't have people on top of you. You don't have people below you. So that's kind of nice. So I try to price my 3-bedroom mobile home at the price of a 2-bedroom apartment. So realistically, there's no reason why someone would rather live in that apartment. They're definitely going to want to come to my mobile home. So that creates like this great opportunity to rent them. So that kind of gives me an idea of like how to place my rents. Now I want you to kind of look at a deal of how do I buy this? Now, obviously, if you're in a high price area, you're going, what? You can purchase something for $10,000. That doesn't even sound real. Well, listen, I've coached students all over, right? You might be paying $25,000 for something, right? But you can also get more rent. Now, on this slide, the monthly rent we were originally getting in this park was $575. Since the pandemic, we've actually raised rents in there. The lot rent, thank goodness, we have worked out a relationship where the lot rent stays the same, because a lot of the parks have started raising the price because, again, sewers going up, water's going up, the cost of electricity, all of this. So looking at that purchase price, let's just say standardly, we're going to negotiate as low as we can, which the good news about mobile homes is the reality is they're very negotiable because everyone's not looking for them. And also they're negotiable if they're in a park, because if somebody is really motivated to sell, they still have to pay lot rent. So that $325 a month they're paying the park, even if they own their home free and clear, but let's say they're in a financial crunch and they don't even have the $325 to pay monthly. So even if they want $20,000 for the home, they can't pay the lot rent. They're going to lose the home, right? The park can take that over. So go in and negotiate. They're very negotiable. I'm not saying take advantage of people, but be a smart negotiator. So the monthly rents in this park now are anywhere from $600 to $625. They've actually gone up, which still seems cheap. But when you look at our area, that's pretty much median. But guys, you cannot get a house for $625 right now. And if you do, it is in the worst part of Columbia. You don't want to live there. So again, this is a nice family oriented park. So if you're going to property management, obviously we're taking into account that price, but you can see your monthly cash flow, your monthly rent, let's just say at that $575 minus the lot rent, minus property management, you're still cash flowing it very decently. There's a lot of people right now buying homes. And I know this because I've talked to them. Their cash flow on their home after they pay everything out on a single family home is $300 a month on something they've leveraged, right? Which I'm all about leveraging, and they'll get the appreciation over time. That's great. But when I look at that, I'm going, listen, you need to be smart and diversify. You want cash flow in many different directions. So if you've got some money, cash sitting, that, it could be an IRA, cash sitting in the bank that you could take and put this into something and create some cash flow, this is a great avenue. And I'll tell you from my experience, the tenants have been great. There's very little maintenance issues. So the reality is the maintenance issues are much cheaper on a mobile home than they are on a house. So it really ends up being a really great situation. So owning a rental in someone else's park, of course, we want to talk about the glamour, right? The cash flow, little in, but there's always some advantages and disadvantages. So again, I like to keep it real and be super transparent. So what I like about it, buying in a park, you don't have to own the park. So you don't have the headache of, oh my gosh, there's a busted water line in the park. Oh my gosh. And I know this from experience, the pipes are frozen in the park. The park is on a well and the water came back and DHEC test the water and it came back bad this month. So now you have an issue with that, right? That you have to pump money into. So I like the reality of not owning the park because I don't have to deal with that big maintenance issue. I'm only dealing with my unit. It's a very simple way to start. And I think actually everyone should start this way because I think it gives you like a hands-on experience because you might go, look, I don't love mobile homes, right? Like I don't think they're glamorous. It's funny. The investor that we got a call from and we went and looked at her homes, she's actually making very good money. She has like, I think 5 or 6 homes in this park, but she's just like, I'm just kind of want to move on from them. And I was looking at her cash flow and I'm like, why do you want to move on with them? It's just not my thing. Okay. And she even has property management, but they're just not glamorous, right? Like not like a beautiful luxury home. But there's a great cash flow opportunity in them, which I love. So what's the negatives, right? What to be aware of? High lot rent can be a deal killer. Like you want to stop. If you hear the rental, it's only renting for $700 a month, but the lot rent is $500. Stay away from that because the reality, what's also happening now. And the second thing to be aware of is changes in park ownership. Here's what's happening. A lot of people are finding out mobile home parks are very lucrative. And the problem is they look at every park the same. I can just come in and raise the lot rents and I'm going to make more money. I can come in and raise the lot rents and I can make more money. The problem is there's a lot of investors that have come into our market and they're gouging the prices of lot rent, but they're not looking at what's the market, what can it hold? So we're not a California market. We're not a Florida market. So it doesn't make sense to have these overpriced lot rents because realistically, people can't even afford it. So you have to be really smart with the park that you buy in because you also need to, again, find out, does it allow renters? And I would highly, highly, highly recommend if you're buying homes in someone's park, consult an attorney that works, and this across the board, I think for rental property, regardless. We have an attorney that deals in real estate, but there's a special attorney that deals with strictly rentals, and have them draft a contract between you and the park that states out everything. Because remember, guys, during the pandemic, some areas you weren't able to evict people, right? So now you have these people not paying. Well, guess what? The park's expectation is still to get their lot rent. So you're going to have to pay out of pocket for the lot rent. So you want to definitely have rules in place. What if a new owner comes in and buys the park and raises the lot rents? That could affect your cash flow. So you want to make sure that you're building things in that if that does happen, you have the option to sell the properties. Can you move the properties? Like, what are your options? So I'd highly recommend consult an attorney to go through all that with you. Now, this is a fix and flip case study. So it's interesting because we started out not fixing and flipping because even though I had been doing mobile homes since 2009, I wasn't educated in every facet, right? Like I knew like you can buy them in a park and you can do this and you can buy a park because we had done that. So I kind of learned through some education formally in manufactured homes. And then I also learned just doing, right? Which is where a lot of us kind of come about. Then I started seeing like, man, people are buying manufactured homes. There's a great market in this. So I was like, you know what? Let's flip, a couple of these. And what's interesting is I found that our manufactured home profits were almost as good as some of our single family home deals. And they were actually able to get done a lot quicker because I didn't have to pull a permit to do something always, right? So I was like, this is actually an easier process. Like, why haven't we done this all along? So we kind of started, again, my husband and I have done everything. We have short-term, long-term, we wholesale, we flip houses, we do mobile homes, but this was just a good add-on and an in-between. So I started scouring the MLS, which I do. Actually, I just sent a lead to my agent today and said, hey, comp this out. I think I'm going to make an offer on this mobile home on land. So we're currently doing this strategy. So I looked on the MLS and I saw a couple of properties in an area that I wasn't as familiar with because they're outside of a realm that I usually buy houses in. So I was like, pull comps, show me days on market. Is this a good neighborhood? And it's more of a manufactured community. And by community, I mean, The houses are on like half acre to acre lots, and it's built a built-in community, just like a housing community. And I like to buy those unless I find a manufactured home on a lot of land, because of course people want land now and lots of space. So I looked on the MLS and it was listed for 50,000. Well, then I looked at comps and I was like, gosh, there's a house that sold like anywhere, depending on condition, from 110,000 to 120. So I was like, the profit margin seems really good. Now, how much work does this thing take? So I go in, this house, it just was gross, but not any worse than anything I'd done. I was like, okay, it just, needs the basics. So I started negotiating the price. Now, what's interesting for those of you that have been in this business a long time, every time you walk into a house, it's like you're creating the scenario of what happened in the house. And I literally in my mind was like, I guarantee somebody bought this home for someone, like a grandparent or someone, and they rented it or they gave it to them and they tore it up and they took it back. And that was exactly what happened. The grandmother bought it for her granddaughter. Her granddaughter decided, which was so sad, to destroy this house. So the grandmother bought it cash. Then she just was like, I don't want to deal with this. I strictly bought this for my grandmother. I want my money, or my granddaughter. I want my money out. So I looked at that as an opportunity because of course I have to run the numbers to say, okay, can I make money on this? Does it make sense? I think I came in right below that 37,000. I want to say I offered like 35.5 and I could have come up. So I was like, okay, I'll go low. She came back and negotiated a little bit higher, but I was like, you know what? Days on market in this neighborhood are a little bit longer. So I have to get this at 37. Literally ended up getting it for 37. The renovation, and I'll tell you what we put into it. I'm going to show you pictures, but we built the new porch on the front. We replaced some on the back. We put a new roof on. HVAC was good, but we had to do the interior furnace. And then we gut and redid the whole thing for 30 grand. So it was really affordable because again, and this was like right during the pandemic time, right? So prices were starting to rise of all the wood in the homes and all of this. So actually what's cool about a mobile home that you'll see inside, there's not a lot of like things I need to replace with wood. I had to go in because what you'll see is the way these manufactured homes are built, the walls are built with panel boards. It's not drywall on the older ones. So it's pieces of Luan and panel boards you fit together. So those are really cheap to buy. Now, what you'll see in these mobile homes is they typically have imprinted like wallpaper on them, but you can go in and paint over that. And that's exactly what we did. So there were some soft spots in the floor and we ripped up the flooring. We replaced it with plywood. So that was probably like our most expensive part, right? But again, we didn't have to go in and buy a bunch of lumber to do stuff. We had the porch, but you can buy a cheaper porch already pre-done. We just decided to build one a little nicer. But as you can see, that kitchen also was very closed in. So like, I hate to use the word, it feels like a manufactured home when you walk in, but literally there's certain things about these homes. That's why I'm telling you, go walk them and look at them. The newer ones, they're building more like houses with the open floor concept and all of that, because that's their competition. The older ones are literally very closed in and they feel like, why this floor plan feels awkward. So I go in and rip out all the cabinets. I use Lowe's in-stock cabinets, use vanities like I would in my single family home. I mean, actually that bathroom right there, we put in a single family home. We just flipped. So I'm using all the same fixtures. The bathrooms, I'm using vinyl flooring, like sheet vinyl. So you can see how much better that bathroom already looks. We ripped out that bulky closet. We left the garden tub in the shower. I just had my guy spraying epoxy. And this is it, guys. So we carpet the bedrooms, right? And as you can see, like in some of the pictures, you see what I mean on the walls with the panel. You can see paneling strips holding it together. I don't go in and drywall if there's no need to. That would be like a huge waste of money. So in this one, I didn't even put granite countertops. I just used the Formica. We didn't have to. I do go ahead and put the stainless steel appliances because those make it look like a house. And literally what's interesting, because when we threw this on the market, it was getting a ton of showings. And then people would go there and they would be like, oh my gosh, it's a manufactured home. I didn't read that. I thought it was a house because the first picture I said, look on the MLS, Noah was like, don't put the picture of the manufactured home, put the picture of the kitchen because we want people to go and be sold on the kitchen or sold on this. And that's exactly what happened. Had a nice backyard and front yard. I said, take really big pictures of it, right? Don't sell them on, it looks like a manufactured home because that's not what they want. But when they go in there, they're going to fall in love with it. And the cool part is the price tag on this was much less than buying a house. So you can't buy a house in this district and area. Probably it's even gone up 15 or 20 grand since then, but you can't even buy a decent house for, 160 to 170. So you're getting in the school district at an affordable price with something very nice that looks like a house, right? So this is the other fix and flip case study. So this also was on the MLS. Again, I'm finding few and far between on the MLS currently, unfortunately, but now I'm just doing some of the direct mail marketing. I'm trying now to target neighborhoods with manufactured homes because, guys, there's not a lot of people doing that. And when we talked about like using a CRM, I'm buying lists for just specifically or using my CRM that specifically can hone in on a manufactured home so I can market for them. I've cut out some of the single family homes because those are saturated with everyone calling them. And I thought, okay, let me take a different avenue. So this one was on the MLS. Ironically, it was listed through an agent who is a very good friend of ours, who him and his wife are also an investor team. And what's funny about this is he has the listing. I'm like, why would you not buy this? Still to this day, guys, I'm not even joking. I was talking to him the other day and they just bought a little house on the lake. They're doing to keep as a long-term hold. And I said, man, you guys should really, the taxes. He was complaining. He said the taxes on this house, we bought it for like 300,000 because it's non-owner occupied. The taxes are like 10 grand a year. I said, dude, why didn't you look for a mobile home on the lake? The taxes are so much cheaper. He's like, oh, I would never buy a mobile home. So he still has that philosophy, even though he's seen me flip it. He bought this. We bought this from him. He listed it. They sold it. He knows what we made and still has no interest. So again, this isn't going to be for everyone, which is cool. Like it's just not the glamorous type. And for them, it's just not. So this was listed on the MLS at 69.9. We actually negotiated. Now, of course, he is the agent. He can't tell us what the seller will take. But I literally said, listen, I know they need to sell. I'm going to throw in an offer of this. Do you think they'd entertain that? He's like, it's worth throwing in. I said, okay, cool. So they actually took it. This house smelled like cat pee. They had a lot of animals in there. And again, this is in a really good school district zone. So I knew like, man, if we finish this thing off right, it's going to sell quick. Now, this is the one we actually bricked the bottom of to make it look a lot nicer. So we didn't have that cheap skirting along. And, that at the time was probably about $7 grand. That was the biggest part of the whole budget overall. But again, we went in, we bricked the bottom. We replaced the roof on this one. We had to replace the HVAC and ductwork underneath because obviously he had pets that had ripped up stuff. And still we were at a 30,000 renovation budget, which is crazy. So like, I would say a house this size that we were doing, we'd probably be at closer to 50,000. The cool part about the mobile homes is the plumbing is really easy to do. And the electricity is really cheap and easy because you have the panel walls. You don't have to cut into drywall. So that kind of saves you a lot of money on the back end of that, which I love. And even if there's a foundation issue, like we had a foundation issue on the mobile home, which was really just the mobile home was on level. It cost like $650 to have a guy come in and level it out. I was like, this is great, right? I would have paid $6 grand on that on a house. So, and again, the turnaround time was super quick. I mean, we were done with this in like 4 weeks, which was awesome. So this is the mobile home before. It has double living rooms. Again, it had this weird like floor plan island in the middle that wasn't super desirable. And we came in, took the whole thing out. So if you can look at that again, that's looking from the view where that fireplace was. So we just painted that, which I always say paint and flooring is amazing. We use laminate flooring in here, which was awesome. The LVT. Again, Lowe's in-stock cabinets. As you can see, we didn't change much. It works. So like, why are we going to recreate the wheel? Just use the same stuff. And we were able to go in. This one always makes me laugh. Number one, there's like 2 reasons. It's like, where's Waldo in this picture? So one, if you look at the closet picture, that's my friend's wife who also, they work together. She's taking a picture of the bathroom, which is hilarious. That's the picture that was on the MLS. This cracked me up, number one, because you would never do that in a house, right? Like this is the thought pattern though. And then 2, why in the world did they put carpet on the floor in a bathroom, in which they do in houses, but why did they put it on the tub? It's like the weirdest thing. Like, do you run out of towels and you just roll around and dry off? I don't know. It's weird. But this is the after bathroom, guys. We left that tub. And again, I have my guy epoxy and spread it. Boom. Look at that. Can you believe that's even the same bathroom? We put in some new lighting, obviously. We put in some new mirrors, some new hardware, and we epoxied that whole thing, and it looks so nice. So yeah, it's simple. We still stage. We do the same things we would with the house. We treat it just like our houses. But that's the underpinning example I talked about, that old metal skirting. Look how dingy it makes that house look. It just makes it look so not like a house, cheap, and just changing those steps up, right? Like those steps look rickety and old, and we just put a nice staircase and then a little bit of mulch. There wasn't much to do out there. Now, it's cool if you can see the left of the house up top, there's actually houses in that subdivision and mobile homes. So it's a really nice built community, which is cool, and a great school district. So the last thing I wanted to share. So this is so exciting, guys. So I've always loved manufactured homes, and I thought they were cool. And now as we're looking we're always looking for real estate, and my husband, I love short-term rentals. We do travel nurses. We love that, but we really love our short-term rentals that we can go stay at, because for us, it's important to travel. And we have 2 small children. I know Stacy kind of shares that common ground. They're always traveling and doing cool things, and we are the same. And obviously right now it's hard to get on a plane and just go you could back in the day, especially with 2 kids. Our 5-year-old is autistic. So it's just not easy to travel with him. He has to be comfortable. So we love short-term rentals. So we actually target short-term rentals in areas that we want to buy, because we can also use them selfishly. And I've been looking around in the mountains. So we're in Columbia. So we're about 2.5 hours. For some of you that are familiar with Asheville, Hendersonville, Black Mountain, Maggie Valley, Waynesville, all these areas that are close to ski resorts and these fun things. And I grew up near the mountains, so I love the outdoors. My husband grew up in upstate New York. So we love that. And we love the boys to be outside. So I started looking at housing, and I'm like, geez, you can't even find a house. It's so expensive. And it's so hard to find them. And we started looking at mobile homes around there. And I started kind of looking what's on the market, what's going on, what's the price point. In the meantime, I have a very good friend, Jenna, who invests in real estate. She's up in Pennsylvania. She randomly reached out to me in the middle of last year. And she said, Christy, she said, I have this manufactured home lead. And I was like, okay, so tell me more about it, right? She wasn't thinking short-term rentals. She was just thinking, Christy does manufactured homes. Let me call her. I was like, all right, what's the deal? She said, so my yoga instructor, they have a house they inherited from their grandparents. She said, it's a great house. And guys, this is the condition of the home. I mean, this is a beautiful home. This is of it. She didn't even go in and do anything. Her yoga teacher's husband is a contractor, which is her contractor on all of her flips and rentals. And she said, it's interesting because they don't want to sell it. They want to keep it forever because they inherited it, but they're sick of tenants. They're just not good landlords. So I thought about renting this. So I thought about it and I was like, okay, so you want to kind of rental arbitrage it. And she said, well, what does that mean? I don't even know what that means. I said, so you're thinking you want to take it over from him. He'll keep it, right? He's not selling it, but you'll sublet it and put a renter in. She said, yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking. I'm like, well, where is this place located? Tell me a little more. So she starts telling me, it's everybody in Pennsylvania goes to the Poconos. And I laughed because I was like, oh, I know the Poconos. I grew up in Virginia. They used to run all the commercials of the big champagne glasses that you could sit in and lay back luxuriously. She's like, yeah. She's like, everyone goes to the Poconos because they market a lot. But my house is actually located in a better area near ski resorts, outdoor hiking trails. This thing is in the hub of everything. Frank Lloyd Wright has some of his houses he built here. She said, so people come here to vacation all the time. I said, well, instead, I said, okay, how much can you get this? What will he let you put it under for rent wise? She said, he only wants $800 a month. We already worked out a deal. She said, I'm pretty sure I could rent it to a full-time tenant at $1,200 a month. I was like, okay, that's a good little strategy. You're controlling this real estate. But I was like, what if you came in and you short-term rented or Airbnb'd this? She's like, I don't know anything about that. I said, well, you're lucky. I do. So I started researching all of this. And I said, Jenna, I feel pretty confident you can make up to $3,000 on this thing. She said, done and done. I said, what do I have to do? So I kind of walked her through, stage it, do this. She did. So she launched this right after Thanksgiving. So it's only really been, and now, of course, with the new COVID strain, short, for those of you that have short-term rentals, it's been kind of here and there, right? Like I've had some cancellations because of COVID, some rebooks. So I told her, I said, don't get discouraged. Number one, you don't have stars. You're not a super host. You're probably not going to get booked a lot. But when I looked at this area, I was like, oh my gosh, most people are renting huge homes for literally like $300 to $400 a night. And I was like, I think you can price yours around 180 and see what you get. And let me tell you guys, she started getting bookings immediately. So I just talked to her the other day. I actually interviewed her, and that's on my website because I thought it was so cool for people to know. I actually interviewed her, and she's like, on average right now, just starting out, and she's like, I'm kind of learning the process. She's making around $2,500 a month. So she's paying her contractor $800, which is so cool. He's so happy because he doesn't have to deal with the burden of stress and headache. And she's super happy. She's like, this is making like 3 times what I would on. She's like, I have 18 rentals that I like really want to get rid of now because I'm realizing, or I need to change the strategy because I realize I can do more. So this is cool just to see, like, even if you don't own the real estate, what you can do. Or could she, I asked her, what do you think you could buy one of these for in your area? She said, probably like 130,000. I'm like, cool. Even if you bought it, you could do the same thing. So no, there's a strategy for everything in manufactured homes. So hopefully you guys learned something today. Hopefully you're excited about this. And hopefully when you get a mobile home lead, you don't throw it in the trash or throw it to the side or never call the person back, because you can really make some good money. So here is my free mobile home lead sheet. So if you go to christyduckett.com /free, you can catch that interview too with Jenna. It's really cool because she kind of walks through everything. But now you got this property lead sheet, so you can at least figure out what the heck to do with this. So I want you guys to have some happy mobile home investing. And I hope in 2022, you're able to complete a mobile home deal and kind of add that to your portfolio or flip one just to add another, notch in your belt.
Thank you for listening to this episode of REI USA. Let these golden pieces of advice clear your path towards thriving real estate success and start making those amazing financial opportunities work for you. If you liked this episode and want to get more of these valuable secrets, be sure to subscribe to the show at www.rei-usa.com. Leave a rating too and share with your friends. Until next time.